Hello, respected viewers. I'm George from Ireland. So, people have asked me to produce a video on Joe Biden and his prospects for the forthcoming election, which is 10 weeks from tomorrow. So, he's 10% up in the opinion polls, in the polar polls. So, I can't think of a time when a candidate's been this far ahead, so close to the election, and lost. All right? There was a first time unprecedented things happen, as Donald Trump has proved. All right, but if I were a betting man, I would lay a wager on Joe Biden winning. And if you look up the odds, that's where the smart money is. So it's not a foregone conclusion, but I give him a high chance, a 70% chance that he's going to win, even if not by as much as 10%. And I know it's not the popular vote that decides, it's the Electoral College. But only twice in the last 120 years at least has the Electoral College not gone the same way as the popular vote. Donald J. Trump won by a fluke by winning 3 swing states by a total of under 80,000 votes. There were other factors. Hillary Clinton's manifest debilities as a candidate, his own shortcomings for some reason didn't count against him so much, and strong challenges from third-party candidates. Whereas as third-party candidates, they're virtually unheard of. I mean, I didn't even know who the Green Party candidate was till last week. Anyway, so Biden's going for the presidency. What do we know about him? Well, obviously, he comes from Delaware. He's been in Congress for decades. And like anybody who's been in the spotlight for the best part of half a century, obviously, there have been a few slip-ups. He has advocated for a few policies which are no longer popular, and he sometimes changed his position. He's been married twice. His first marriage was ended by death, not divorce. And so when he was a widower, he married someone considerably younger than himself. He's got a race of children, and his son Beau died of natural causes a few years back. So his life has been touched by personal grief, but he hasn't let his bereavement knock him down. He's carried on. You know, his desire to serve the public appears to have only been redoubled by this personal sadness that he's suffered. So he was brought up a Christian, I believe, of the Protestant denomination. He doesn't wear his faith on his sleeve. He doesn't seem to try to exploit that for electoral purposes, as so many of his Republican opponents are wont to do. So he's decidedly middlebrow. He's a lawyer, like seemingly 3/4 of the people in Congress. So let's look at the pros of the Biden campaign, or Biden as an individual, not looking at Kamala Harris for the moment. Name recognition. And that was so important for Trump last time. Experience, having been in politics for almost 50 years. He served as vice president, so that's the best possible preparation for it. When's the last time a sitting vice president who ran for election as president lost? I suppose that would be Richard Milhous Nixon in 1960. So we know that incumbency confers a major advantage. All right, Biden's not incumbent anymore. But anyway, he's got likability on his side. And there was a study done about 15 years ago that concluded that likability is the foremost quality needed to be elected president. I don't know how that was the case for Trump. Maybe things had changed by the time Donald J. came along. So Biden's noted for his unfailingly sunny disposition, and he's unflappable. He's always buoyant. He just radiates positivity. So it's very upbeat, and people find that engaging. Was it Reagan who said we're optimistic in America because that's where the optimists went? All right, that'll go, that'll work. Whereas Trump is not optimistic. He is insane by saying things are far better than they actually are. We're the best of everything, and I've got the best and the biggest and the richest, and lies. Another thing about Biden is he's honest. I mean, I can't think of any lies he's told. Presumably that there are lies he's told. Everyone's a liar, including present company. But I don't think he lies very much, especially for a politician. And politicians are in a tight corner more often than most, so might be inclined to tell porcupines and use fibs to get themselves out of hot water. So Trump doesn't appear to be able to lay a glove on Biden, calling him Sleepy Joe. I don't think that one's connecting, or saying that he's mentally unfit. Now, Biden is obviously not as sharp as he once was, but when the matchup is against Trump, I mean, there's no contest. And Trump bragged about being able to recognize an elephant because that was a very hard test, as Trump says. If you think recognizing an elephant is hard, then you're clearly unfit for any kind of public office. Then you're clearly extremely stupid or seriously senile already. Other things going for Biden. Remember Sir John Bercow, formerly the Speaker of the British House of Commons, said his golden rule of politics was magnanimity. And Biden's got that in spades. He doesn't seem to bear grudges or be someone who's acerbic, whereas Trump's always lacerating people, which makes his base ululate with enthusiasm. So we don't see Biden tearing shreds out of people. He doesn't engage in ad hominem attacks. He's great on the chat shows as well. So politics aside, he comes across as someone who's congenial. So almost like an idyllic grandfather. A bit of a sort of a Ronald Reagan of the left, if you will, a lightweight. But let's look at some of the cons. So, well, this is the elephant in the room. Well, it's not really because everyone's talking about it. Advanced age. He's 77, the oldest person ever to stand for the presidency. But America's a greying country. 77 is not as old as it once was because healthcare is much better. So more people are making it to that age, and it can be mentally agile, particularly if they keep themselves mentally active. But yeah, he's long in the tooth. And with anyone that age, you have to ask, is there some serious infirmity there? And I don't think there is. He appears to be sprightly, alert, no difficulty walking or things like that. Unlike Trump, who won't go more than 100 yards. And with Trump so often, it's projection. It's accusing others of what he's trying to do, like the rigging thing. He's the one trying to rig it by preventing the ballots getting through, or saying it's rigged unless, of course, he wins. And he has voted by mail. It's just nauseating. Anyway, but there are some downsides to Biden, or some of his shortcomings as a candidate. All right, perhaps some failures of the Obama administration. What would they be? Some terrorist attacks took place, the Boston bombing. What are they going to say? Benghazi, bring that at him. What else? That, okay, the Obama administration wasn't active enough in stopping Russian hacking, which helped the Trump campaign and things like that. Biden has sometimes spoken up for contentious policies, opposing busing, for instance, as Kamala Harris brought up. That was when they were trying to effectively racially integrate various schools, which, though officially desegregated, in practice were largely segregated. So Biden sometimes had a tin ear. Some women said that he touched them in an unsuitable manner, not saying it was a sexual assault, and he's denied this. Okay, maybe it's false. Even if it's true, it's not that bad. This would have been unpleasant, perhaps a bit distressing for these women, but not criminous, I don't think. So he's gaffe prone. Yes, that's true. But again, when he's going head to head with Trump, there's really no contest who's worse. Trump has been accused by circa 20 women of sexual assault and indeed rape. Yes, you heard that correctly. Rape. Trump used to barge into the changing room of Miss Teen USA when they're 15-year-old girls in their lingerie, or maybe even less. Trump, who would you believe? 20 women are the most dishonest man in the world. And when I say that, I really believe that Trump is the most dishonest man in the world. There are worse people, there are some horrific tyrants, but I don't think they lie quite as much as he does. Well over 20,000 lies or misleading statements he's made on the record since becoming president. If that's the one he said on camera, how many has he made off camera? Also, sorry, some of these are like tweets and stuff like that. Just shameless lie after lie after lie. It's baffling that he's done this. But as I said before, Trump really is a genius. If you can spout falsehoods all day long, every day, and still get 40% of Americans to trust you, you've got something remarkable going. I don't know how you achieve that. You've got to hand to Trump that he's managed to completely capture the Republican National Committee, which for the first time ever is not putting forward a platform. It's got one policy, Trump, that's it. Wow, no manifesto, no policies. So it really is a Trump cult. And despite that, Donald says that Biden's followers are cult-like. Really? I don't see them like that, being, just uncritically devoted. No, some of them are disappointed. He should be more left-wing, he should be more moderate, or thought it was a bad VP pick or whatever, or noticed his wrongdoing in the past. So no, they're not blindly following him, and tends not to go with the Democrat mindset. The liberal left tends to be more opposition oppositional and kind of give their own leaders a difficult time, whereas right wingers are, and I am a right winger, quite often are more what would the word be, just devoted to this cult of the personality or something like that. And that's completely the case in Trump's case. Someone who was a Democratic donor not even 10 years ago, and donated to the Clintons, for God's sake. And Republicans now appear to believe that the Clintons are the devils incarnate, the root of all evil, running a paedophile ring out of a pizza parlor and all this sort of twaddle. Anyway, I can't believe how they fall for such utter furphy. Anyway, so and other things. Okay, what would a Biden presidency look like? Well, this is in no particular order. Presumably, Iran deal would be back on the table. Iran says, well, the United States, as you've torn up the deal, we are no longer obliged to abide by its provisions. So we hold ourselves absolved of all our undertakings. And indeed, they've enriched uranium. Iran is much closer to a nuclear bomb now than it was under Obama for that reason. So I would suggest he would try to dial down tensions in the Middle East and suggest, okay, supposing we lift sanctions, start trading with you again, would you get rid of that enriched uranium? Presumably the Iranians would season that with alacrity because their economy is really shrieking. They're suffering badly, but they want to show that if you do this to us, we will do something to you that you hate. And then the US has brought in more sanctions on Iran about weapons. Oh, they're a major state sponsor of terrorism. Well, I suppose that's true. There are quite a few others. I mean, again, including arguably the United States, but that's not why the Iran deal was brought in. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, commonly known as the Iran deal, was specifically about nuclear weapons and nothing else. Some what Iran doing is supporting lawful governments such as in Syria, a lawful and awful government. Yes, the tyrant, but it is the internationally recognized government that holds the UN seat for Syria. Now, I mean, many countries are hypocritical on this. The United States will support rebels in Syria, terrorists as many call them, but other places say, no, you have to support the legitimate government, however bad it is. I recognize that in Yemen or something like that. What else? So Biden will have this economic crisis to contend with, and coronavirus. That's not going to disappear the day he's inaugurated. If we're lucky, it'll be going down. Maybe the vaccine will have come in. But there might be a return to rationality, to the values of the Enlightenment, to reason and science, and the president not espousing completely implausible ideas about how to cure coronavirus and encouraging people to go and commit suicide, not even really knowing that's what they'll be doing if they inject bleach into their lungs, and not pretend to be an expert on pharmacology, virology, epidemiology, and just riffing on this could be very interesting as a medicine. Well, things like Medicare and Medicaid are going to need funding more than ever. Now, I know it's obviously Congress controls the power of the purse, not the president. He can put forward his plan. If he's lucky, he'll have both sides, the House of Congress on his side. Almost certainly he's going to have the House of Representatives. The Democrats do that, have it already. Won that by 8 percentage points 2 years ago. And a presidential year, the Democrats tend to do better. Turnout is always problematic for them. And so having won by 8% last time, you think they win it by a bit more, like 12% this time. And likely they'll get the Senate, the Democrats, even if only just. You might fantasize about they getting 2/3 of both houses, whereby they could change the Constitution. I don't see it happening myself, or even coming close. Ending tax cuts for billionaires, Trump bankrolling his cronies, which has blown a massive hole in the American budget. So fiscal conservatism, so much for that. Return to some kind of fiscal responsibility. Now, I know Republicans will try and scaremonger and say, oh, they're going to tax you more. Only if you're a billionaire or multimillionaire. The average American could even say their taxes go down and just public services better funded. You can't have a small government without a small military. So often Republicans want to have their cake and eat it. They want lower taxes and they want hugely increased defending on the armed forces, despite the United States having a bigger military budget than how many other countries after them? Is it 10? Is it a dozen? I don't know. A lot. So might slim down the military a tiny bit. One thing he won't change is Jerusalem. The US embassy has been shifted there. He's not going to shift it back. A number of American presidents said they'd do it, but they didn't do that in the end because of Ishmaelite pressure. But Saudi Arabia, some other Arab states, Egypt, Kuwait, UAE, Bahrain, they seem to have really jettisoned the Palestinians. They've been thrown to the wolves and really care about facing off against Iran. So the Arabs are not going to complain about that too much. I mean, the UAEs that just recognized Israel, they're going to start diplomatic relations. So Israel's no longer been frozen out by her fellow Semites. So Biden will probably step up opposition to Russia, more funding for Ukraine, battling to defend its sovereign territory, maybe opposing China in some other ways. I'm not sure how he's going to do that. China's got this symbiosis with Iran, indeed Pakistan. The Chinese building these artificial islands in the South China Sea. There's some debt trap diplomacy to poor countries like Kyrgyzstan, Montenegro, and so forth. So I'm not sure the Asian pivot will continue. Biden will shore up NATO, said, yeah, that's absolutely a linchpin of our defense policy. So there'll be a huge collective sigh of relief in Europe and the chancelleries of so many other countries if Biden's inaugurated. No border wall will be going ahead. Trump's not managed to build it anyway. The farewell xenophobia. No more racist rhetoric. No more Islamophobic screeds and so on. So peace, placidity, order, and sanity might be restored to the United States. Some of those people, Americans who are refugees in Canada, might feel it's safe to come home. Dreamers might get what they want. I mean, again, a lot of this is through Congress, not the presidency. Not executive orders against them. The children separated from their parents in cages near the border might be set at liberty. But it's true, if Biden wins, that maybe more illegal immigrants would come because they say, well, we're not going to be treated so barbarously again. So the Dreamers might get a path to citizenship. And I wonder which party they're more likely to vote for. As a young people, low-income people, overwhelmingly Hispanic, you'd think there's a very high chance they're going to vote Democrat. Moreover, if the Democrats have given them citizenship, with Republicans adamantly opposed for these mean-spirited Pharisaical reasons, then the Republicans will be screwed over for a very long time to come. Puerto Rico wanted statehood 10 years ago, but the Republicans wouldn't hear of it because it'd be very much a left-leaning state. And obviously that's Congress has got to vote that through. If they did accept the percent of the state, that would redound to the Democrats' advantage. Another 2 senators, a few representatives. It's not even that tiny a state. It'd be about 30th in population. So there are more investigations open to Trump, but I mean, that's mainly Congress. Subpoenas, who might finally have to disgorge his tax returns. What is this bombshell? What is so shameful in there that Trump has striven might and main to hide it? And that doesn't make Republicans think there's something fishy. He's nowhere like as rich as he pretended to be. But why would that stop him? Because even when there's proof positive that he's been talking through his arse, telling these blatant lies, he says, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. No, fake news, hoax. So why would this be any different? Or who he's really got his money from? Is it from Putin's coterie? Wouldn't surprise me, because some of Putin's Camarilla are his customers. Anyway, so this is what some of the things to expect about Joe Biden. I really, really hope for the sake of the world he wins. There are problems with him. I don't agree with him on everything. I mean, I'm basically pro-life, for example. I don't agree with the way he speaks up for the illegal occupation of Palestine, the oppressions there, and he's been a tireless advocate of crimes against humanity committed against the Palestinians. But Trump is even worse in this regard. So really he's the lesser of 2 evils. Anyway, I pray he wins. That's all. So please donate to me on PayPal to make sure I can sustain this channel. It's georgecallahan79@gmail.com. That's all small letters. Callahan spelled Callahan. Toodaloo.